Welcome to Blindspot Collective's nationwide presentation of Good Trouble. It will begin streaming in approximately 5 minutes. Because we all have different phones and service providers, and maybe even the added delay of Bluetooth headphones, you may discover that your audio is slightly ahead or behind those around you. If you are experiencing this with a group, don't worry about it. However, please take this moment to refresh the page if you have not already done so, as that tends to help. If you are listening with a smartphone, you may also need to open the audio player in a new browser window so that you can listen while your phone is locked, or even change your settings so that your phone won't auto-lock. It's also important to know that if you need to pause the show at any time, you'll want to reload the page to stay in sync with everyone else. If you are participating in person with others, please be respectful of those around you and remember to keep your mask on at all times. After the show, we would love to keep talking. For those in Balboa Park in San Diego, please stick around and join us for a conversation.
Welcome to Blindspot Collective's nationwide presentation of Good Trouble. In the midst of a heartbreaking year and 2 days before a monumental election, it's a good moment to be together, and we are grateful you are with us. While not all of us are in person, remember that anyone can access the video live stream to watch what is happening at our live event. Check out our website at www.blindspotcollective.org to track it down. Regardless of where you are, for this experience we ask you to stay physically distant, but we also invite you to stay socially close. It's necessary to be connected to the people around you in order to make some good trouble. Listen for prompts within the performance inviting you to respond together. But also, so long as you stay physically distant, feel free to connect with others around you beyond the prompts if you feel inspired. Be spontaneous, even. You're free to move around. If you're experiencing this with others, remember that your audio may not be precisely in sync with everyone else's. Don't worry about it. Just respond to your prompts that you hear. Like any social movement, sometimes we move in unison, sometimes we echo each other. Sometimes we show up in person, sometimes we show up together in spirit. Either way, it's solidarity. If you're part of Blindspot Collective's in-person event in San Diego and have any technical difficulties, please speak to one of our team members in a Blindspot Collective t-shirt. If you're streaming with us elsewhere, for the best auditory experience, please keep your headphones on and do not pause your audio. If you accidentally hit pause or realize you're not in sync with people around you, simply refresh the page and hit play. Every phone is different, but you may need to open the audio player in a new window or adjust your phone settings so that it will keep playing while your phone is locked. If you are with a group, please remember to keep your mask on at all times. Finally, after the show, we would love to keep talking. Here in San Diego, we invite you to join us for a brief dialogue. If you are elsewhere, take some time to reflect together on how we can keep pushing the movement forward. We're about to get started. Thank you for listening.
As outrage
wave of
spread to the
protests
U.S.
swept across the country, rallying cry Black Lives Matter.
I've asked my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, why segregation, why racial discrimination? And they would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way, don't get in trouble. But one day in 1955, at the age of 15, in the 10th grade, I heard Dr. King speaking on old radio. His words, the action of Rosa Parks inspired me to find a way to get in the way. I got in trouble. It was good trouble. It was necessary trouble. I have the feeling that here today, we're too quiet. We're too quiet. We need to make some noise. We need to find a way to get in the way. We need to find a way to get in good trouble, necessary trouble, if we're going to save America and create the beloved community. As a young child, I tasted the bitter fruits of segregation and racial discrimination, and I didn't like it.
I tasted bitter fruits, and now I know my time has come. Can't quite articulate, but I know this time I won't hesitate. Hear my generation cry, we do not like it, so we rise, with everything and nothing to lose. I fight with my body, my voice, my life. I cannot be silent. It's time, it's our time to say no justice, no peace. Say it with me. No justice, no peace. Say it with me. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice.
When I say no justice, no peace, I mean that. I absolutely do mean that. There will not be any peace in this country until Black people are afforded their human rights. Like, we're not fighting for anything that's out of this world. My predecessors that were activists and organizers gave up their lives for the cause. When I know I'm going into a high-risk situation, I just remind myself of that this cause is greater than me.
It's now, the revolution is now. It's now, the revolution is now.
Do you understand that portions of this recording may be transcribed and performed as part of an audio play exploring youth activism and civic engagement?
Some of the topics that we are curious about are, racial justice, immigrant rights.
Would you prefer that we use your real name or assign a different name?
LGBTQ plus rights, environmental justice.
Have you been impacted by any of
How
these
has
things?
this affected your personal experience?
Women's rights, gun violence.
Talk to me about your activism.
Can you please state your name?
Say her name.
What's his name?
Say her name. What's her name? Can you please state your name and pronouns and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Thea, she, her. I am a 22-year-old Black woman from San Diego. I identify as anti-capitalist, pro-sex work socialist with some communist tidings. And I'm vegan.
My name is Marwa. I am a first-generation Pakistani American. I am also a queer woman. She, her.
Hi. My name is Ayman, and I am a Generation Zer. I'm American Muslim. I'm unapologetic, and I'm damn proud to be me.
My name is Nina. She, her. I am 19 years old, and I am indigenous to this land.
So my name is Eden. I identify as a white woman. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm 18 years old.
I'm Simeon. I'm a 22-year-old gay activist from San Diego. He, him. My dad's from Africa. My mom's from Puerto Rico. I love animals.
My name is Day. I'm 25 years old. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I'm an Afro-Latino trans youth activist.
Hola. Buenas tardes. My name is Gerardo. I was born in Mexico, but was raised here in San Diego. So I identify strongly as Chicano because I don't identify as Mexican or American. I'm just in between, and I grew up undocumented.
My push into activism was Trayvon Martin's murder. At the time, I couldn't fully articulate how I felt, but I knew that I was angry. And I knew that there were other people in my city who shared my feelings. So I came up with this idea to hold this silent protest at my school. And I was written up for suspension, but I didn't care. The principal sent me home to prepare my case for him. I came back the next day with all my documents. And by the time we got out, when we went to the cafeteria, almost every single student in there had their hoodies on with the same exact message. And that's what really made me become an activist and an organizer. And I haven't stopped since. I committed to the movement at 13 years old.
Growing up, my dad took me to my first protest when I was 7 years old. My dad has always had to deal with things that I have had to deal with. Just a lot faster in this country than I expected to. And so he always taught me to stand up for myself. And to know that my race is not a problem with me. That is an issue with other people. But my mom has had a hard time understanding because she's a white woman. And even in these recent protests, when we were going to go protest the first day for George Floyd, she called me and said, "I found out that you're going to protest today. Please don't go. You're not going to be safe." And what I told her was that the reality is that I'm significantly more safe in a crowd of other people standing up for the same things than I am in this country on a day-to-day basis.
I'm no longer a teenager. I'm 20. I'm getting old. I feel it. But when I was in high school, I looked around my school's hallways, as I'm sure many of you have, and I saw people being othered, people being made to feel different. And I realized how often we're told to be something that we're not because of how we identify or who we are or how the world sees us, instead of just having the space to be who we are and to claim that proudly. And I saw that as boys sat at one table and girls sat at another table, and all the boys' table wanted to talk about was girls and sports, and I wasn't with it. So I found a new table, because that's what Gen Z is about.
This land that our ancestors fought and gave their lives for is the only real thing we have left, besides our culture of our past. And what I've been taught is that the earth is not something you can own or possess. She's something that we need to take care of, and that will outlive us as a people. So we need to make sure she's here to take care of the next generation. I learned from my father that all life is sacred. He showed me that every living thing is connected, because we all draw life from the same earth, and we all drink from the same waters. I was raised in the ceremonies of my people, learning the dances, the songs, and the language that was passed on to me by my ancestors. This land.
This land.
This land.
This land.
That our ancestors fought and gave their lives for.
For the ancestors that gave their lives. Life is the only real thing we have. Life. Our lives together. Let's remove our shoes and plant our feet in it. Plant into the earth. Yes, go ahead. Remove your shoes and plant your feet in the earth. Sacred ground, feel her beneath you, holding you up. Earth is not something we own or possess. She holds us up. Care for your mother, our daughter. She'll outlive us. She is here, connecting us. Every living thing belongs together. Look around. Yes, go ahead, look around. You and me, this grass, this sky, look around, come eye to eye with... They are not a stranger. Look at hands, feet, elbows, knees, branches, brother, sister. Hello, trees. We, every living thing draws water, breath, life from earth. Now listen.
So, actually, I come from a family of immigrants. I'm first generation, and my parents are from a small Eastern European country called Bulgaria. I'm not sure if you know where that is, but it's right above Greece, and it's actually the last country in Eastern Europe to become released from communism. So my parents essentially grew up in, under a communist regime. So my dad, his dream was always, the American dream, land of opportunity. So he was able to escape the communist regime, and later my mom joined him in America.
I'm a black male, so it directly impacts me. It's no surprise that I would be out during these times trying to make sure we're consistently saying Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So, when I saw George Floyd and all of that, it really was just like a kick to the stomach. Because, you've been seeing for all this time this has been going on. It didn't even matter that the civil rights movement had happened before. No. Things haven't changed. I've been pulled over. I've had negative interactions with law enforcement. I understand. And I live this every day. I could have been one of those killed by police. I don't know what it'll take. I'm hoping that I can be one of the solutions.
I'm working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week. I can't fight for my rights or others because I'm fighting to live, to eat. Yeah. And to what COVID has done is it has put us all 20 leagues below the fucking ocean, and you can't see the surface. There's nothing. You lose the people around you. People are dying. But also, you're not around anybody else. You've all this time to yourself. Some people are unemployed and have nothing to lose. And yet, you could lose your life in a minute.
I am a youth leader, and I am a survivor. My father was deported, and that really took a toll on my life. I have lost many loved ones to gun violence. My older brother, he was in high school when he passed away. It was a day like any other day. You hear pops, thinking they're fireworks, but they weren't pops. You see the melanin on your brother's skin turned gray. Andres Ortega was his name. Can y'all say it with me?
Andres Ortega. Say it again.
Andres Ortega.
Say her name. Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Tony McDade.
Tony McDade.
Tanisha Anderson.
Tanisha Anderson.
Say their names.
Michael Brown.
Alteria Woods.
Michael Lorenzo
Alton
Jones,
Sterling.
Philando Castile,
Sandra
John
Bullock.
Krasinski.
Sheridan
Wright.
William Green.
Alexia Christian.
George
James
Floyd.
Lacey.
Listen.
When my dad immigrated here, he knew he was going to have to deal with racism.
As a young woman of color, a challenge I face is not being taken seriously.
He knew that, while he absolutely was an activist, he did not always stand up for himself in the way that he should have.
When all the Me Too movement and the Women's March went down, that was a big, big, big deal to me.
Being an activist is hard, but being a woman activist is even harder.
It was such an emotional march for me to realize and really accept what was going on.
Everyone who knows me knows that I go balls to the wall. Yeah, I make sure I don't sit and be complacent to abuse in any form.
It was just waves and waves of people marching. And I remember that it was pouring rain. And everyone was soaking wet. And no one gave a shit. It was just screaming. It was just drums. It was just amazing. It was. And I don't know. It was just such a life-changing moment. To be there.
So I get up there and I'm screaming and fighting, and I'm not physically fighting, but I make sure my voice is heard.
Arm in arm with all my friends, marching in what we felt like in what is now a part of history.
I'm doing this for all those little girls at home that are looking in the mirror and just don't feel normal.
You know, I go out and use the privileges that I do have, despite, my blackness. I use my body.
I felt like I was reclaiming something for myself.
I feel myself kind of come into my own, to have a voice and use my voice and use my platform.
My father did not stand up for himself in the way that I am standing up for myself.
When you're out there and you're screaming and fighting, there's a type of connection you build with people through, trauma.
To be there, to be there, to be there, to be there. You should care, you should be there, to be there, to be
lot, especially in 2020, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death was earth-shattering. At least for me. She's not perfect, but she has been a champion for women's and human rights, and I think we have to realize that. Human rights are not cyclical. It's not like the economy. It doesn't go up and down. We need to stick together.
If we don't have people who are standing their ground and continuing to seek truth in this fight for justice, then people like me who are young, black, female, will continue to be marginalized in their own efforts.
When someone said something that made me uncomfortable in the past, we are taught to not say anything. To sit in uncomfortability in order to not make that other person uncomfortable.
I'm doing it for other girls to say, you are normal. You are worth it.
But I am an American, and it is no longer about me sitting silently and being uncomfortable.
You are worth fighting for. You're going to be amazing, and every part of you is awesome.
When you turn to the other person who's screaming, fighting for the same things as you, it makes you feel connected to them.
It was just waves and waves of people marching, and I remember that it was pouring rain, and everyone was soaking wet, and no one gave a shit. It was just screaming, it was just drums, it was just amazing, it was, and I don't know, it was just such a life-changing moment to be there, to be there. I know you should care. You should be there. You should be there. You should be there. To be there.
At the end of the day, I'm here to fight for everyone. We are all human beings.
We are all human beings. We are all human beings. We are all human beings. Now throw up your fists in solidarity with humanity. Yeah, go ahead, throw up your fists and listen.
Okay, what do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! And I love that one because it's when you have the whole crowd do it, it sounds so powerful. Any of the chants that people all do in unison always just hit me like a truck because it's so powerful.
Let's do this. What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
It's now, it's now. The revolution is now.
It's now, it's now. The revolution is now.
What's happening right now affects us deeply as a generation that's the most diverse ever.
And it is our responsibility to respect and protect that which gives us life. So I begin to look at the world around me, and what's at stake right now is the existence of my generation.
If you look at what Trump is trying to do in terms of healthcare and houseless youth, the fact that potentially they could be turned away at shelters for not fitting within, specific gender binaries or transphobic ideas of what they should be.
I carry that trauma everywhere I go. And I am not alone in this experience. We have become accustomed to this violence.
What is at stake right now? What we are fighting to protect? What is in your hands? What is in our hands today is the survival of this generation.
So we need to focus on changing the conditions that foster violence and trauma. And that's how we will transform our communities and uplift our voices. A global pandemic, police violence, the current administration, this has not and will not stop us.
It's not about fighting for a seat at the table. Millennials did that for us. It's about saying, if the table is not for us, we're gonna build our own or we're gonna flip the damn thing.
The continuation of the human race, that is what is at stake. So youth are standing up all over the planet to find solutions to the issues that will be left to my generation.
I think a lot of us are looking around the table and saying, where do I belong? Where are the kids who look and feel like me? Where's my seat? But I think that more of us are saying, no, we don't have to play by the same rules. We get to make our own tables.
So if you're not seeing the kind of activism that you want to see, you have to do it yourself. You have to find it yourself. So it's now. It's now. The revolution is now.
It's now. It's now. The revolution is now.
It's now. It's now. The revolution is now.
Now take your seat, here in the grass. Yeah, if you're standing, go ahead, sit down. You belong to this revolution. You've been standing all over the planet, carrying trauma, doing it yourself, cleaning up the mess. Take a rest. Go on, settle in for just a minute. There is much yet to build, much at stake, so take a break, bask in it. Bask in it. Now listen.
They told us to wait, face another day. Said, son, be patient. Told us, stand up and fight for what is right. Contradiction, saying put your hands down. Saying put your hands down. Putting my body on the line. Only one thing is on my mind. Change is happening this time. Change is happening this time. Putting my body on the line. Only one thing is on my mind. Change is happening this time. Change is happening this time. It's now. Revolution is now. It's now. It's now. The revolution is now. I look around. What's at stake now? Our generation is not backing down. If they won't give us seat, think we are the only fiction. We'll flip the whole damn thing. We'll flip the whole damn thing. Putting my body on the line. Only one thing's on my mind. Change is happening this time. Change is happening this time. Only one thing is on my mind. Change is happening this time. Change is happening this time. It's
It wasn't until the murder of George Floyd and everybody was out into the streets that I have come into my own.
I got involved with Black Lives Matter in the summer of 2016 when Philando Castillo was killed.
I didn't actually think that people cared, but, they do care. And that's really reassuring and reaffirming.
I've been showing up for my community ever since.
It has made this super rewarding to know that, people are looking out for me as a Black woman.
My opinion on protesting has actually changed a lot since the death of George Floyd.
It's nothing new to have me out there helping lead. It took a turn for me. Like when I watched an old woman get shot in the head, point blank, shot right between the eyes with a rubber bullet.
I used to be, so staunchly, peaceful protest only.
In that moment, I got so angry, probably the angriest I've ever been in my life.
We need the police on our side to, make sure that it doesn't get violent. We need permission from the city to do it. I was very, it has to be peaceful or else no one will listen to us.
I was like, no, fuck this. I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna go even harder.
Watching the riots and, people causing a civil disturbance, I realized this is actually very important.
And this switch, it clicked in me. Like everything they did just only empowered me rather than took me down.
We're trying to start a revolution. Maybe we have to, destroy capital in a capitalistic society to prove our point.
I have this vivid memory of smoke clouding the air and feeling the tear gas, slowly choking you to death. And it's like we're sitting there saying we can't breathe. We can't breathe. And they're putting this toxic chemical in the air that is making us literally not be able to breathe.
Breathe. Breathe with me. Look around. Breathe together. This life, this breath. Breathe. Listen.
I don't believe that we have to choose parties or protests. I don't believe we have to choose activism or education. I believe we get to be all things. I get to be, at 20 years old, an activist and an entrepreneur and a speaker and a student. And what? We get to be what we want to be. And who's going to tell us different? Our truth is our truth. And we walk in our power. And we walk in that truth.
Young people have mobilized to fight back. It's truly inspiring.
No one's going to fight for this but us.
I think that youth voices are powerful.
I, along with a lot of my peers, are attending 2 to 3 protests a week.
Gen Z has a fighting spirit that can't be suppressed.
No one asked to be protesters, organizers, or activists. We're literally fighting for our survival.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in that truth.
Activism is a marathon and not a sprint.
We have the most momentum that we've ever had.
People have a lot of passion at the beginning, but they lose sight of it, and they lose track of it, and they don't want to stick with it.
You can't buy into a system that is literally stacked up against you. Tear it down.
What we need is conviction.
Tear it down, tear it down, tear it down.
What we need is a mind shift so that everyone feels empowered to stand up for justice.
Tear it down.
There comes a time where not standing up for something is you are complicit. So be open, be curious, be critical.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in that
what I want the most is for people to listen.
Really listen.
The best thing adults can do right now is just listen to young people.
And to be able to find compassion for others.
That, for me, is the immediate change that I see happening.
We can't live in a world where we're ignoring other people's oppressions.
And hopefully, people will see how we've been treated for such a long time.
We're all in this together. Okay, we all have to survive this world.
Everybody sing.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in that truth.
I just think, like, our generation has grown up feeling like we must fix everything.
And we're gonna do it. Our generation is.
It seems like we have to fix the environment, we have to fix our healthcare system, we have to fix income inequality, we have to fix racism, we have to fix gun violence, we have to fix all these things.
I think our generation is waking up.
It seems like for a lot of us, it's a lot of pressure. But it's also a lot of excitement because we can change the framework of our nation.
We have to be able to go out there and seek the change that we want to see.
I think America will be completely different 50 years from now. In a positive way.
All together now. Everybody sing.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in that truth.
It doesn't take an extraordinary person to do extraordinary things. It takes a person willing to want change.
I think a lot of people assume that, we're going to give a voice to those who are voiceless. But I completely disagree. I don't think we're voiceless.
I understand that I have power, that I have a voice.
I think we have a voice. I have a voice.
And that if I use that voice, I could alter everything.
We've had a voice. We just need people to listen.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in that truth. And we walk in our power, and we walk in that.
Sing with us.
Our truth is our truth, and we walk in our power, and we walk in our truth. And we walk in our power, and we walk in our.
All together now.
Our truth is our truth, is our truth. And we walk in our power, and we walk in our truth. And we walk in our truth.
I was at a protest recently, and there was an undercover cop, and he kept asking questions. And then he stuck his camera in my face and went to try to get my photo. I immediately turned around and was like, "Other protesters with signs, tall men, come here." And they immediately started using their signs to block the camera. And it was one of those moments where I was like, the people are strong. The people are strong. And it goes back to the thing that my mom said about, like, you're not going to be safe at these protests. And I'm like, I think I'm the safest at these protests. I think I'm the safest with my people around me. It's just really beautiful. And it just made me so happy. And I think, too, it's just so healing right now. It is very dramatic when you're at these protests, but it's also incredibly healing. I feel like it's like group therapy, you know? Like we're all working through our trauma as a group and our nation's trauma.
When I watch the news, I see myself reflected in it with a lot of the baggage and trauma that comes with being an immigrant.
A lot of young people are dealt situations that they don't deserve, but they make something beautiful out of their pain.
The world is out to get trans people. I mean, especially Black trans people. They die. They're murdered, and they kill themselves at disproportionate rates.
What shakes me to my core is the separation of families at the US-Mexico border. It blows my mind as much as it breaks my heart.
My grandma used to tell me, the best things come out of tears of sadness. It took me a long time to understand what she meant by that. But when you cry about something and you do something about it, it becomes an amazing thing.
The moment I found out I had lost my father to immigration was so painful. I knew I had to do something.
It's horrible. But as a Native American, I find that I'm able to draw strength from my ancestors. They survived horrendous atrocities and were still able to keep on going.
It's surprising the way in which many Americans nowadays react to immigrants, especially because no one is native to this land with the exception of indigenous people.
It's because the system pits us against each other. Like, people will turn their backs and literally spit on, people who are not like them. So, the system is working the way it's supposed to be working. We're all fighting for the scraps. And when you start to put yourself above other groups and say, they can't get those scraps because I need those scraps so that I can survive, we're all fighting each other. So the trick is, if we stop fighting and we start working together and we create a new system, right?
I'm really, really, really passionate about, the end of capitalism, which is honestly such a huge project, but it's really the root of pretty much everything.
You wouldn't have slavery without capitalism.
Capitalism is breathing through all of these things. Literally, I can't think of one thing that it doesn't touch.
The problem with America, in terms of individuality, comes from capitalism.
Every time we go dissect a problem, it always leads back to capitalism. You can't be in support of capitalism and also be in support of Black Lives Matter, because capitalism is embedded in white supremacy. Yeah, it was built on it.
It was built on it. It being backs and bodies, knees in necks. Lie down. Lie down. Go on, let's together lie in. To honor the martyrs, we lie down. Face to the ground to remember lives lost. Let's dissect the problem. Look to the roots, 400 years of white lies, the cost of greed, capitalism, breathing through all these. Meanwhile, we can't breathe. It's time to understand. Let's sit up. Go ahead, sit up. Look around. You are not alone. Be alert. Now listen.
People don't know how to treat people with different lived experiences. People don't know better because people don't know our stories, because we don't talk about them enough. We ask so often, how are you? And just expect a good. We need to be asking more, who are yous? To share our stories, to connect, because it's so hard to hate somebody you know.
I know that I can make a change that echoes out across the world to show you that you're not alone. And I am here for you no matter where we are. We are linked through change, a change that we are. Through the chants and through the songs and through the pain, we are together. We're the same. We are together. We're the same.
We're not out here to make our pain a sob story. We are here to make the violence many of us have faced known. But it's not just gun violence that we're struggling with. Our neighborhoods are over-policed. Our schools are underfunded. As people of color, we are ignored. As an inner city, we are ignored. That is why we are here, to get our message out and continue to have that momentum. We have to be grateful for this moment.
I know that I can make a change that echoes out across the world.
I mean, I want complete change. Complete eradication of the prison industrial complex. No more cops, no more policing, no more politicians. And everything completely community-based. Yeah, complete change.
To show you that you're not alone.
I encourage young people all across the country to be fearless, to show up and be a part of this fight, because the change starts with you. I wish more young people knew how powerful they are and how much weight their voice actually holds. So I just really want young people all around the world to know that your voice is powerful. Your voice holds weight. And your voice can change the world.
I know that I can make a change that echoes out across the world.
One way that I'm an activist outside of protesting is everybody in my family is such a hard Republican. And whenever all of our family hangs out, it's always Eden, just keep the peace. But I don't really want to keep the peace. I talk to my relatives and my parents and I'm this is unprecedented, is it not? And they're well, we have Vietnam. And I'm well, okay, we have Iraq. We have Afghanistan, coronavirus. We have extreme police brutality. We have school shootings, and the economy is also really sucky. Pretty much everyone's in debt, and national debt is also crazy. Oh, and the planet is dying. So it's shut up and sit down. It's our turn to drive.
And I am here for you no matter where we are. We are linked through change, a change that we are.
I'm hoping we'll take this as an opportunity to rebuild and to renew our faith in humanity and to restart. We've gone through COVID-19. We've gone through riots. And now it's time for us to rebuild. I'm hoping what will happen is when the history books look back on 2020, that people see we were actually able to make change.
Through the chants and through the songs and through the pain, we all together, we're the same. We all together, we're the same.
Really, the shift is changing in that we as a community of people of color, of queer folk, of women, of all minorities are getting together and saying it is not my job to stay uncomfortable anymore. It is your job to face how you are making me uncomfortable and change your behavior. We are holding people accountable for the first time ever on a mass scale. And the more that we put that pressure on the people who are actually traumatizing and abusing these communities, the more justice we will see. But the biggest thing is that we all need to continue to fight. This cannot just be a moment, it's a movement.
I know that I can make a change that echoes out across the world to show you that you're not alone. And
And I am here for you no matter where we are linked to change who we are. Through the chants, and through the songs, and through the pain, we all together, we're the same. We all together, we're the same.
Atlanta, Seattle,
Chicago,
Los Angeles, Mexico,
Houston,
Norway,
Germany,
Pakistan,
Puerto Rico,
Rome,
Louisville,
Peru,
Russia,
Japan,
Brazil,
France,
Palestine,
Turkey,
Nashville,
Nigeria,
Australia,
New
San Diego.
Phoenix.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart. And imagine cities, countries, lands struggling to be free. It is one struggle. The one global, beloved community. Being together is not what it used to be. For this we grieve. Friend out there, somewhere, fellow warrior spirit disturbed like me, I feel you. I miss you. We are together, bound by love. Bound by love. Now listen.
I stand here as a survivor of sexual and domestic violence. I stand here to honor the lives of Black women that are killed due to domestic and sexual violence and never get the attention they deserve, that are never plastered over magazines, that are never seen on the news. I stand here to bring attention to the countless number of Black women murdered each year. We need you to show up for Black women and women of color, just like we show up for you. This word, intersectionality, pops up so many times. But what does that look like after today? After we leave, are you going to show up for Black women and women of color activists? Are you going to show up for queer and trans and disabled activists? Are you going to uplift and elevate our voices? You have to. That is what intersectionality is. Working together, coming together as a collective. The people united will never be divided. I stand here.
I stand here.
I stand here. Let's stand here now. Go on, rise up, take a stand. We stand together. Now look around and put your hands together for all those who showed up. Round of applause. For those who refuse to give up, your presence is essential work. Make some noise. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Now listen.
It's exciting to see people who you never would have thought would even speak out are now confronting their family members, calling out their friends. It's exciting to see real colors, real faces, real identities.
I'm trying to make the world a safer place. For the love of my life, who's another woman of color. For my nephews and my family members. For my own father. For myself. I want it to be safe for all of us.
We have the resources to transform our society and make sure everybody's basic needs are met.
Being a young person is hard, uncomfortable, difficult.
My advice to young activists everywhere is to take your time.
And it comes with stresses and pressures that I can only begin to articulate.
It's very hectic, and it can definitely take a toll on you.
But I believe that we have the power to say confidently and proudly that we're not the leaders of tomorrow. We're the leaders of today.
No shade to adults, but what you have to say isn't important. Because at the end of the day, we are not only the future of this country, but we're the present.
We're the leaders of right now.
One thing about my generation, Generation Z, We have the will.
People need to stop telling me you're gonna be somebody someday. No, I'm somebody right now.
We have the power and we're gonna get something done.
We are somebody right now.
And if we don't stand up, then who will?
I'm here with a bunch of young people who are doing the damn thing right now.
We won't be silenced.
Because our time isn't later, it has to be now.
Which is why I think voting is so important.
I'm actually going to be a voter for the first time this election.
Our voices matter. Our experiences matter.
I'm very excited.
I was 17 during the California primary, and I wasn't able to vote. But now I'm 18, so it's going to be interesting what happens in November.
It's our duty to vote. To not vote means you're basically giving away the little power you have left.
Vote like you're voting for your children.
Make your voice heard.
Vote like we are your children.
It might be the last time it ever will be.
We're honestly scared because this is our home.
Vote with your heart, and vote with integrity, and vote like you're not going to be here.
We're scared, but we have enough strength to move past that fear and turn it into courage.
To anyone in an older generation, I want to say, take my hand and let me lead you.
Mi nombre, my name, is Gerardo.
When we protest, we are really putting our lives on the line. A lot of us can't really speak or we're really shy, but we express our points of view by using our bodies.
Remember my name. Remember these voices.
We will use our bodies and our voices.
Remember us and how we're making a change.
This is our home. This is where we hold hands and chant and sing.
La lucha sigue. The fight continues.
My reservation, my community.
Gracias y bendiciones. Thank you and God bless.
This is my backyard. This is where we dance.
This is where we dance. This is where we use our bodies. Move like everyone is watching. Move with everything and nothing to lose. It's time. We cannot be still. Move to make the world safer. Everyone is our neighbor. Dance for survivors, nieces and nephews, for our ancestors. Dance for the babies, dance for the trees, our hope, the next generation. Come on, elbows and knees, hands and feet. Dance to remember what it means to live free. Dance for Black lives, because if they don't matter, then none of it matters. Take off your shoes. The earth is holding you. Come on. Come joy, come power, come on, beloved. Freak out, break free.
Everyone around the world, get ready for a brand new beat. The time is here and we're gonna freak out to a rhythm that'll move your feet. We're the face of the revolution, the world is ours to make. Make noise, we've been too quiet, so let's get in the way. We are here. Dance. This is where we move our bodies. Everyone is watching us. This is where we dance. We got nothing else to lose. It's time. This is why we dance. 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 The world will pause. We strut into the room. We are that new whip top-down radio blossom hit. And we will change hearts, shooting for the moon. We've written down the rules, not playing by the book. We are here, we are here. Come joy, come power. We are here, we are here. This is where we dance. That's why we dance.
We have a lot of work to do. Too many of our people have been left out. They're black people, they're white people, they're Latino, they're Asian American, they're Native American, they're straight, they're gay. They've been left out and left behind. We must not rest. We must not be patient until all of our people can participate. We must never, ever stop.
I'm putting my body on the line.
Change is happening this time.
There may be some setbacks, some delays, some disappointment, but you must never, ever give up or give in.
Change is happening this time.
You must keep the faith and keep your eyes on the prize. That is your calling, that is your mission, that is your moral obligation.
The revolution is now.
That is your mandate. Get out there and do it. Get in the way.
The revolution is now. The revolution is now.
You must find a way to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
The revolution is now.
Thank you for being a part of Good Trouble. Now it's your turn to keep the conversation going. Keep your mask on and stay 10 feet apart, but get a few people together to talk about the show. We would also love to hear from you. Email info@blindspotcollective.org to tell us what this experience was like for you. You could also visit our website at blindspotcollective.org to stay in touch, or follow us on social media at blindspotco. And don't forget to vote. Your voice matters. Be well, but stay in it. There's a lot more necessary and good trouble to be made. Good Trouble was created and written by Catherine Hannah Chirac and Blake Bacardi, featuring original music and lyrics by Richard Allen and Taryn Gray. The performers you heard were David Andre, Tazal Michael, David Coffey, Rachel Herrera, Nathan Nonhoff, Angeline Pawaan, Isaiah Rosales, Kiera Wade, and Gwen Wood. The project was developed in collaboration with Bianca Jennings, Bernardo Mazon Daher, Wilfred Paloma, Michaela Surider, and Sofia Zaragoza, with additional research and interviews by Stella Andrade, Rebecca Elliott, Connie Garcia, Nadia Nunez, Lilia Porter, Lisbeth Rocha, and Shadi Sani. The sound was designed by Evan Eason, and technical support was provided by Patrick Gates. This production would not have been possible without the participation of 40 local activists and community organizers who generously offered their time and graciously shared their stories. Special thanks to Blindspot Collective's Board of Directors Brian Barberin, Melanie Chen Cole, Candace Crystal, Jeremy Green, James Halliday, Laura Hanna, Shalina Hefner, Joel Cow, Peter Chirac, and an extraordinary team of volunteers and community partners who made this project possible. Good Trouble was produced by Blindspot Collective, a nonprofit theater company in San Diego, California, with support from Arts and A Reason to Survive, and funding from the California Arts Council.